My name is Rasha Moumneh, and I will be speaking on behalf of the Lebanese LGBT rights organization, Helem. Before we begin, I would first like to thank the conference organizers for allowing me this opportunity to address you, as my trip to Montreal was recently cancelled due to the air, land, and sea blockade imposed on Lebanon by the State of Israel. As we speak, over 300 civilians have been killed in Lebanon, and by conservative estimates, 600,000 are internally displaced as a direct result of Israel's criminal destruction of their homes. As of July 12th, the date when Israeli aggressions began, Helem's LGBT Center has stopped all LGBT-related work and donated its space, its resources, and its volunteers to humanitarian relief efforts in order to assist a section of the estimated 60,000 refugees in Beirut. I will not dwell on the destruction and devastation wrought upon the entire country by the Israeli military. That you can read and hear about elsewhere. Instead, today I would like to draw attention to the political rhetoric in which this war, and others in the Middle East, are being couched, and its ramifications on the burgeoning LGBT rights movements in the region. Perhaps one of the primary and most difficult of Helem's struggles has been proving its legitimacy, the legitimacy of its cause, without falling prey to accusations of being agents of Western imperialism. While this proposition might sound outrageous to some, it is certainly not a baseless fear. History is filled with examples of human rights discourses that have been co-opted to serve colonialist agendas and to reinforce them with a false moral purity. Currently, as we enter the next phase of the U.S. administration's plan to redraw the geopolitical map of the Middle East under the guise of fighting the war against terror, the buzzwords remain the same: democracy, freedom, human rights, and reform. How is it surprising, then, that any talk of human rights is not regarded with suspicion? President Bush held up the mantle of women's rights as one of the justifications for the invasion and occupation of both Iraq and Afghanistan. Israel continuously promotes itself as a safe haven for sexual minorities, using their tolerance as proof that they are a more civilized people than their Arab neighbors, occupied and otherwise. Some LGBT and civil rights movements have joined forces with right-wing nationalist groups in their practice of one of the last acceptable forms of racism against Muslims and Arabs. In the other corner, morally bankrupt autocratic fundamentalist regimes continue to stifle and repress all voices calling for social and political change, offering excuses of cultural authenticity, tradition and morality, and even national security for their practice of authoritarianism. These two forces, domestic authoritarianism and international messianism, collude to produce political discourses, rhetoric, policing, and even wars, leaving those of us who wish to see genuine, sustainable reform with little space in which to navigate. We are caught between neo-colonialist agendas on the one hand and regressive, oppressive local governments on the other. Refusing both these options, Helem walks a tightrope in between them. We are an Arab LGBT organization working in an Arab country, and that is not an oxymoron. As Israel systematically destroys Lebanon's infrastructure and kills its residents with US-made bombs in what is being advertised as the latest installment of the United States' plan for the new Middle East, it is incumbent upon all of us to denounce these atrocities. We do not accept democracy at the barrel of a gun. We do not accept to be liberated through war, if the price of that liberty is our lives, meted out in collateral terms. The international LGBT community should not shun its brothers and sisters in Palestine and Lebanon, especially not now, when both Lebanon and the Gaza Strip are being decimated by Israel. Helem, the first legally recognized national group openly calling for LGBT rights in the Arab world, is calling for a complete boycott of this year's World Pride event, scheduled to take place in Jerusalem. We should not be calling for one particular type of freedom in a country that systematically denies all types of freedom to its neighbors. In Beirut, Helem will continue to work towards LGBT rights. We cannot and will not do so under bombardment. Thank you.